Welcome to episode 44 of the Rebel Army podcast, the official podcast of Cork City Football Club. And this week we talk to a voice very familiar with the club. Back for another episode. We were away for a small bit. We were missing last week, but I'm joined as always by Aaron.
Yeah, to be honest, I was dying sick last week. I'm not much better this week, but I'm here.
You're over the man flu.
I'm over the worst of it. But we're back.
We're back.
I know you were all heartbroken to miss us last week, but look, we've made your week now. We're coming back.
Well, we were lucky. We kind of had done a bit of a preview to the match already, so we were... for the Drogheda game on the previous week. So, and obviously we didn't have the men's team to kind of report back on last week anyway. So we haven't missed a whole lot in that regard. We were back at Turner's Cross on Friday night. Another draw.
Do you know what? After the game, Tim was kind of saying how he thought it was our worst performance of the season so far. I think a lot of people would agree with him. So to have your worst performance and not lose the game, I think it's not ideal, but it's okay.
Ideal,
we didn't lose. We did get a point. So, and we were very, I'm going to say we were very lucky with what happened early on in the game and the disallowed goal. Great decision, I would say.
It was a strange one. I was just sitting down at the time and I was trying to figure out what was after happening. I saw the ball go into the net and then I'm like, what's going on here? But it was explained afterwards, and technically it is. I
think it was Warren Davis had encroached into the box.
Yeah.
Before the kick out was taken, before the pass was played.
By the letter of the law, another player has to touch it if the ball is still inside in the box.
Is that what it is?
I think so.
Okay.
So
it was a confusing one anyway. Yeah. It's one of those ones where nobody's going to agree on anything.
You can't run in as it's kicked. Someone else has to touch it first. So I don't know if that's the same case. So let's say the ball is kicked out of the box. So maybe we need to get Pat Kelly or someone in here, referee, an old referee or someone like that. But maybe for example, if a keeper kicks it to go out of the box, but someone runs in at the same time and heads it.
What's the ruling?
So
once the ruling is if it's for Cork City, it's a goal. If it's against Cork City, it's not a goal. I'm fine with it.
But you see, long ago, we wouldn't have had so many clips of it and
so many angles.
There's probably these things have happened before.
And people putting screenshots on social media,
and people are wondering, oh no, your man was offside or whatever, or he was encroaching the keeper. There'd be all these different decisions, and people would have their own story. But no, we have video evidence of nearly every kick
of what actually happened. Yeah. So look, great decision all the same. Anyway.
I suppose we did score against Rona play in the first half, getting the penalty. Keats took it well, in fairness.
What a penalty! Yeah.
Great penalty.
What a hit!
And to be leading in a game that we were there was times there unbelievable defending. It was non-stop. There was once.
There was a specific one which will be going out on social media either today or tomorrow. I don't know, was it 5 or 6 blocks and saves?
You should do this, the little numbers come up on the screen, 1, 2,
well, we've
3.
actually, one of our new partnerships this year is with CityLink, and they had the idea of the CityLink Park the Bus moment of the month, where it's going to show off a good defensive moment.
It's a good
That's
idea.
Our winner.
If
that's absolutely our winner.
The bus, that was it.
Yeah, and there's about 25 people behind the ball blocking everything.
Clearances on the night.
Unbelievable,
yeah. It was,
and saves as well. I think TT made a save in the midst of all that as well. So
yeah.
Very, very good. Very happy with that.
Yeah, so look, it's not the worst. We're undefeated still at home.
Yeah, we are.
You know, so I think that's
there's only one team in the league at the minute is undefeated. That's Galway.
And we've only lost one game as well.
We have, yeah. And a game as well that we probably shouldn't have lost.
Yeah.
So
that we were leading against Waterford as well, in that game. So
not a great start, not a bad start, but again, I know I mentioned it every week. There was another game we could have won if it had gone ahead. The game that was called off, but
I suppose the big thing
that's coming up soon. We'll come back to that.
The big thing that you were looking at the other night was the number of big name players that were missing for us as well.
Yeah,
we're down experienced players. Greg, Shawnee, obviously Charlie was suspended as well. You have Malik was missing. And Cahill is only getting back.
Great to see him back as well. By the way,
great to see him come back.
Unfortunate that he was the one
I
dispossessed
know,
for
I
the
did
goal.
feel bad
But
for him. You could see it in his face as well.
do you know what Tim said? He said it perfectly after the game. Cahill's the kind of player who's like the kind of player he is, and the fact that he'll run at people and take people on, he is going to lose the ball. That is going to happen. But unfortunately, it was for the equaliser on Friday. So.
And Benny had a great game. He was man of the match.
Man of the match, yeah.
Obviously, the cameras were there for Virgin, and well, when I say cameras, I think they had one extra camera, did they?
There was a few extra. To be fair,
They
I
had one
think there
behind
was
the goal as well.
They had a drone and everything. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think there was 5 or 6 cameras total. So
Some great footage, actually. The
brilliant
drone
footage. I was delighted with it. It looked really well. But a good crowd as well.
Yeah,
really good crowd. So I think a successful evening, bar the result. But
yeah.
again, that those will all come. That'll all be built on as well.
Even the Taoiseach was there, and the EU commissioner.
was, yeah.
They were both there. So it was nice to get their support as well. On a Friday night.
They know it's the best place to be on a Friday night. It's the best Friday night in Cork.
Yeah.
So.
And also there was a reappearance by a crowd favourite.
The Turner's Cross cat.
He was back. Or she, I don't know.
The mullet, as Danny Murphy said last year. I don't even know. There's actually a few cats.
Yeah.
But he or she seems to pick their moments very wisely. They're on.
No, the cameras were there, didn't
yeah,
they?
And they stole the show towards the end. Yeah, they were on twice actually. I think it's.
But I think the cat stayed on longer this time, and they were
I
trying
think
to
the poor
put off
cat
the keeper as well.
I think the poor cat was trying to figure out how to safely get out. Didn't realise what it was running into.
I thought it was a tactical approach because I kind of ran behind Droghed's keeper.
That's what it was. Tim actually had the cat in a gear bag. And someone released the cat there with 20 minutes to go.
The cat over by
so
the edge.
We were under a bit of pressure, just throw the cat on.
He came out towards the corner, Donny Ford and St. Dan's and just appeared on the pitch.
Yeah. And I think it jumped over the back wall behind the Derry Nan in the end back into whatever house it comes from. But
yeah. I thought
a regular visitor, especially pre-match and on a Saturday at women's games, you often see the cat there as well.
I thought the funniest thing was that Droghed's manager, before the game, said did they have a lot of injuries as well, and said, I don't know if I ran over a black cat or what.
I heard that afterwards. Yeah, what are the chances of that?
And then Virgin put out a tweet, what are the chances?
Yeah,
the black
unbelievable.
cat running on the pitch.
Unbelievable. The things you see at Turner's Cross on a Friday night, honest to God.
Yeah, but so look, 1-1, and we drive on. Look, I think we're putting it up to everybody. That's the one thing that I would say.
Absolutely, yeah. And as you said, look at the players who are out that are yet to come back. Hopefully we'll have them back sooner rather than later, and we'll be a different proposition altogether then when we have those players like your Shawnee, Greg, Malik, huge players who'll be starting players like so. The sooner we get them back, the better.
The women were up in Limerick.
Yeah, Saturday afternoon. Yeah, 3-2 defeat.
They were leading at one stage.
No, we were behind. So we were 1-0 down.
Yeah.
Then we got back 1-1.
Yeah.
And 2-1 down. Back 2-2.
I thought we were 2-1
and then we got it back to 2-2, and then it was 3-2. Yeah, the last 2 goals weren't great to concede, to be honest. They were should have been dealt with better, but again, performance overall was good. There was a couple of things that went against us in the game. The first treaty goal being the main one that everyone has spoken about to death at this point. So I won't go over it, but essentially it was offside, significantly offside. But anyway, all that aside, Treaty did have a player sent off as well.
Yeah.
And 3-2 defeat. Not ideal at all. But I think a break now again, as we spoke about before, the way the women's season sort of breaks up a bit more.
Is that because the national team are playing the Nations League this weekend?
So it's the international break this time. So probably comes at a good time, I suppose, after the way that game ended, that you can kind of you've extra time to identify what went wrong, and I had to fix that. But
and Eva's not in the squad this time.
No, she's not in the squad this time. No one from our end is in the senior squad. Kira Senna and Niamh Cotter are away, right, with the 19s. They have 3 games, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's Serbia, Wales and France they're playing. They played Serbia yesterday, beat them 1-0. I think Kira Senna played 90 minutes. Don't think Niamh Cotter featured, but 2 more games coming up for them, so the very best of luck to them. But no league game this weekend for the women. A week off and then back at Turner's Cross next Saturday for the big one, which is first ever meeting with Waterford, who have a lot of our former players. So that'll be a feisty one.
That will be a feisty one.
We want to have a big crowd at that one. tickets are on sale. There's going to be a couple of bits across radio and stuff this weekend promoting that.
You'd imagine
A
there'd
good
be a
bit in
few come up
advance.
from Waterford for that as well.
There will be, definitely, yeah. So that's the big call this week. I think the double header that weekend, the men's team have Pats on the Friday and the women's team are at home on the Saturday. So
Two big games.
big weekend of big games for Cork City FC, and we want
we-
to see everybody at Turner's Cross twice that weekend.
Yeah, and we'll give a big preview to that probably next week.
Definitely, yeah.
On the podcast. But, speaking of internationals, it was great to see former City player, Jade Numa, scoring for the under-17s to get
Saw
onto
that,
the World Cup.
Yeah, Jaden's doing very well.
Of course, a former City manager and coach in terms of Colin O'Brien and Dave Moyler.
Yeah.
And they've got to the World Cup, which was phenomenal. Fair play to
It's
the
a
lads.
brilliant achievement, yeah. Any Irish team at a World Cup is phenomenal, and we'll all be looking at that, especially because of the Cork City connections. Who knows, by the time the World Cup comes around, there might be more of our academy players involved in squads there. So
it's something for them to push on.
Absolutely, we'll be keeping an eye very closely on that one.
Yeah, no, and
especially on Jaden's progress, which is natural.
He got 2 goals. He was a bit of a star as well, like against Poland, I think was it. He scored against and then they played against Iceland as well. So so it was great, fantastic to see, and I'm delighted for Colin because Colin's worked hard over the years, and he's done great work with somebody. The underage national panels over the last few years, and that's the reward he gets to.
It's massively deserved. Yeah, absolutely. As you said, wishing the very best of luck, and we'll all be looking at that, and hopefully it's something the Ireland senior squad can do, get to a World Cup, hopefully next year, but maybe at least the one after that, hopefully.
Yeah, fingers crossed. But speaking of underage, how did our own academy get on?
They were off. There was 2 friendlies this weekend. There was no league games.
So there was none at all?
No, just 2 friendlies. I think the 15s and 20s played friendly games. So
was it because of an international break for them, or is it just that they take a break mid-season?
I'm not 100% sure on that, to be honest. I think it could have been an international break as his players away.
Yeah.
But either way, no games anyway.
No games.
Just looking forward to academy games this weekend because they're all back.
So we have a guest in studio this week. I suppose it's a voice that everybody be familiar with. I think you'd want to have been living under the rock if you haven't associated this guy with Cork City over the years, especially some of our older fans who remember him on Cork multichannel and obviously TV3, now Virgin Media. Trevor Welch is coming in. I suppose we better bring him in. Welcome to the podcast, Trevor.
Thanks, Dave.
The last time we spoke was on the stage of the Opera House.
That's right.
So anybody that was there that night, you had no shortage of stories for us.
Yeah, I mean, the journey goes all the way back. I suppose, they used to call me in Torquay when we grew up in Torquay, in the Welsh Road. I was known as the boy with the ball because I had the ball all the time,
Okay.
School ball everywhere, and that's what I wanted to be, a footballer. Obviously, I would have played schoolboy league all the way up with my local club in Ballyvain, Kilreen Celtic, all the way up to junior. And I would have after that. Then we'd no senior team. So I was asked to join Wembley in 1985, the year the Cork 800. City obviously were formed the year before.
The year before, yeah.
But funny enough, John Caulfield came down in 85 from Athlone, and I got friendly with him. And he joined Wembley, and he actually played as kind of a centre back or full back. And I think Mickey Punch turned him into a centre forward, but we trained together in the middle parish. It was mad, playing Wembley, and funny enough.
And where were Wembley based? Where was their pitch like?
It was the pitch was where Avondale is now.
Oh, is that where it was?
Yeah,
oh yeah, okay.
That was Wembley Park, no one to us, but we trained in the middle pitch. Where the old Greyhound track was there, Western Road.
Yes.
Sacred Heart across the road,
yeah,
where we trained, and we got to the Munster Cup final actually that year. Funny enough, we beat Crosshaven in the first round of it. Then we beat Cork City in the quarter final. Believe it or not, own goal Stuart Ashton. And it was played in Wembley Park. I remember the late Christy McGrath, God rest him, he was Mr. Wembley, and he was asked, would you play it down Flower Lodge? Because Cork, we get bigger crowd, Cork City went play. No, we've home advantage, we play in Wembley. In fairness, we won anyway, 1-0. And then we beat Cove Ramblers in the semi-final and beaten 3-1 in the final.
So 2 League of Ireland clubs you beat on the way to the...
Yeah, beaten by Waterford in the final, Turner's Cross 3-1. The same day that you two were playing up in Lark by the Lee. I'm a massive U2 fan, but I was on the bench that day in the cup final. I
torn between the two.
Torn between the two. But anyway, that was kind of...
That was your first kind of, I suppose, cross with City, or would you have gone to the games? When they were formed in 84, did you go?
I did, yeah. Remember, I was in school with Ian Hennessy, and I think he got the last ever goal for our lodge for Cork City. But I was just go with him, and you know, John went there shortly afterwards, and Hashi, I played with Michael Harrington. Hashi used to call him. But I'd went when they were formed. I went to League of Ireland like since I was like 9 or 10 with my dad.
Okay.
So we're large Cork Hibs on my team, like.
Yeah.
I'm watching the likes of, because he Lawson, Sweeney, Wiggy, and the Dav. I had scrapbooks full. They were my Man United. Like,
and they were
Cork
kind
Hibs.
of iconic back in the day, weren't they?
Yeah, and just Flower Lodge and the whole thing going in with your dad, going over the gate and getting in. But I followed League of Ireland since then. Obviously, Hibs and Celtic, Cork Celtic, going to derby matches.
Yeah.
Unbelievable atmosphere. Both of them didn't last too long, but I went on to follow all the Cork teams that followed, like Cork Alberts and Cork United, And
eventually it turned out
City,
we eventually settled. We nearly lost them once or twice, but they're still hanging in there, hopefully.
Yeah.
But the club is over 40 years old now. You obviously went from being a footballer then into broadcast journalism, I suppose.
Yeah.
But that kind of started through pirate radio, was it?
It was, yeah. And funny enough, my mum, God rest her alleyway in at Welsh Road, great sound acoustics. Even when I was 12, I was commentating on the FA Cup final, 77, United Liverpool. And being a United fan, I was overjoyed, shall we say. But I got my neighbour as a singer. I got his old broken mic he gave to me. And I thought I was a commentator when I was 12 even. But that was kind of, I always had a graph for it, like the great commentators of the past, like Brian Moore, he'd been my favourite, very theatrical.
For Night
John
TV,
Mawson, Barry Davis. I'd listen to all them, and the guys, and I suppose a few of them on RT as well. But I always had a commentary bug, believe it or not. But my brother was on pirate radio in Noel. He used to call himself Noel Evans. I was around 1976, 77. I was in Dare Park School, and I couldn't wait to come home and hear him on the radio, telling people my brother's on the radio. CBC, the Cork Broadcasting Company, and I'd listen to him, and I kind of got the bug for that. And he did discos, and he had his 4-Capri car with CBC stickers on. And to see him going up to Ballyvihan, the Ballyvihan Community Centre doing discos. So I was only 14 or 15, but obviously that's what I want to do. I had my mind made up.
And so, what was your first start then? Was it a private station in Cork, was it?
Yeah, so basically my brother, helped me to record my voice on a cassette, just do a few links and introduce a few songs. And I think it was the summer of 84, I'd been about 18, 19. There was a radio station down the road from us, my mum's house in Toco, Radio Caroline. It was in a caravan down by the
in
Dean
Toco.
Rock. Yeah, by the crossroad of the soccer pitch, by the Dean Rock.
Yeah.
Mickey Daly, God rest him, he passed away a few days ago. I actually shouldered his coffin a couple of days ago. He was the first man to give me a start. I have him to thank forevermore, because I cycled down, and he looked at me like, saying, "You're only a kid," and I said, "Yeah, but I love it. I'd love to get on. I'd love to get on radio."
Yeah.
So he said, "Give me a tape." So I had a tape pre-done, gave it to him. Ken Tobin was in around that time as well, and Paul Byrne. There's a few of us on the scene, PJ Coogan, and gave him the tape, had a listen, and he got back to me anyway, and he said, "Yeah, there's a show there on a Saturday." So that was the start of it, Saturday afternoons in the summer, and the rest is history, as a fella never looked back.
But you went from radio then, and my first time coming across you was you were the face of sport on Cork multichannel. So anyone listening, the older fans in particular, will remember Cork multichannel, and would have shown a lot of city matches and highlights and stuff like that as well in the late 80s, early 90s. How did that come about? Yeah,
so basically Mickey Mack and Michael McCormack, he was in multichannel at the time, and he was looking for kind of a presenter to do a sports show, kind of a preview show and a review show. But Eamon O'Keefe, funny enough, he was Cork City manager at the time. So Eamon O'Keefe and Bill Haydock were at City, and they were actually presenting the sports show. But they decided in the end that they couldn't continue. Sometimes they mightn't turn up, or sometimes they might turn up late, and they have trouble with the audio cue, and they have trouble kind of rehearsing links and so on. So a few fellas multi-channels, listen to Trevor Welch, there he's on South Coast Radio. He calls himself Trevor Stevens, and after the great Everton play.
After the Everton play, yeah.
And they brought me in anyway, and they said, "Would you be interested?" I said, "Yeah." And they gave me an interview, and then they gave me highlights. I think it was Arsenal Man U Cup match to commentate on, 20 minutes of it. So I did it. Brought me back. Then I was down to 2 or 3 of us after that. Then they brought me back, and they said, "Look, cut your hair, My hair was very long. I thought I was Bono, you know. And
Okay.
he said, "Cut your hair and you have the
Yeah.
gig."
Okay.
And first gig, then they threw me in the deep end. Like, so that was around '88, and it was City of Monaghan, United, Turner's Cross. And my first ever description of a goal was actually John Caulfield into the shed end. I said, "This could be number 1 for City." It is. And I said, "John Caulfield, whatever." And, you know, we went on from there. We did, as you said, matches, every home match nearly we did highlights of. It was very funny because there was no Donny Ford stand then.
Of course,
We were coming up behind the wall in a big scissors hoist, you know. It was like something you see in James Bond. The fans were looking over, and all of a sudden you see the big hoist coming up, and the chant from the crowd was multi-channel, who the F for RTE, who the F for multi-channel, because RT didn't come down that often.
That's right.
There was a big Dublin team there.
And like City fans would have used the multi-channel then to watch back highlights of matches. They loved it then. So you became kind of synonymous with the club.
Yeah.
You know, for the highlights, talking to whoever it was, you know, the players at the time, whether it was Dave Barry, whether it was John Caulfield, Decky Daly or whatever. So you kind of grew as the club were growing as well.
Yeah, Fergie O'Donoghue would say it to me, like he said, "I was getting free drink because of you, but we made us household names, you know, with the highlights." But I mean, it was a two-way street because I love League of Ireland, love Cork City, and you know, I did an awful lot more as well, like the GA stuff. I done all the county finals and stuff like that. I did a bit of athletics, boxing and stuff like that. I think overall, on multi-channel, I interviewed about 8 world champions when I look back at it, like Steve Davis and Bobby Charlton, even all that. But the thing about City, then, like we'd film the match obviously on a Sunday, and we cut it Monday morning.
Yeah, because the matches were at 2:00 on a Sunday back then.
Right.
Yeah,
and we put it out Monday. Then we're in Monday morning editing the highlights, the interviews to follow afterwards, and over time, then, you know, RT would say, "Look, we'll take some of the highlights off you," and we put it out on their own program. At the start, they weren't that interested.
Yeah,
but as you know, I'd say it was so well put together. To be fair to multi-channel, so well edited, and the interviews and so on, we sent them up eventually. And
they used to have a kind of a Sunday sports show at night, didn't they? With Peter Collins used to.
That's right.
Presented on the night time, like it could be like 11:00 on a Sunday night, kind of the twilight zone in many ways. But
that's right. We sent him up to Stephen Alkin, and he was kind of editing at the time, I think. But like, I mean, the amount of matches we did, even in Bishopstown, then when we went out to Bishopstown. But I think, you know, '89 we did the cup final against Derry and Dalymount, multi-channel, like on the road, you know. It was unbelievable because we stayed in the Green Isle Hotel. I passed it on every week when I doing stuff for Virgin Media, and I always look at that Green Isle Hotel, '89. So I was still raw to it, like. And we stayed in a hotel with the City team the night before. Went up on the train with them, like filming on the train, having a great crack.
It's kind of like a documentary, anyway.
Documentary, yeah. And '89, we went, stayed in Green Isle Hotel. Next morning, anyway, Sunday morning, Nolan Manny, God rest him, was the manager at the time. He brought the whole team to Mass, you know. We were there in Mass. And then back, got ready, out and into Dalymount Park. We set up like in the stand and with one camera. But it still, like, it was decent enough. But Dalymount Park was jammed. City and Derry draw, obviously, and then went to a replay where Dave missed a chance in the first one. Remember, hit the post.
Yeah.
And we had a chance, but I think they won the treble that year. Derry City, they're very strong. But at the ground, someone said to me after the match, "You know who's here, do you?" And I said, "No." I said, "Alex Ferguson." And so Ferguson's watching the match. He was watching Brian Carey.
That's right, yeah.
He went to sign Brian.
Yeah.
And I interviewed him. I went up and just called the cameraman over straight away. Just put the mic straight up, didn't ask him, just put the mic up. "Hi, Alex. And great to see you at the FAI Cup final, like, you know. And is there any players in particular you're looking at?" I knew he was looking at Carey, like, as the word was out.
Yeah, he was a top defender, like, yeah.
He just says, "Yeah, the 2 goalkeepers are very good, Dalton and Biscuit."
Yeah.
2 great goalkeepers, he was saying, you know. And I goes, "Any other player you're looking at, defenders?" Because there was other clubs looking at Carey at the time.
Yeah.
He goes, no, just looking at 2 goalkeepers impressed me tonight. But as it goes, then a few weeks later, of course, Brian went to United, yeah.
And he joined, like, so, like, and did that interview go out on multi-channel? Yeah.
Interview went out with Fergus on multi-channel, you know, the whole set of interviews afterwards. We were even in the dressing room, like, getting the reaction afterwards from City players who were obviously after replaying the loss. It was huge disappointment, like. But, you know, that was the start, really, of some of the big matches. Like, obviously, after that, then the big one was going to Moscow because Derry had won the treble. So City qualified for Europe.
For the UEFA Cup, wasn't it?
UEFA Cup.
Yeah.
And the story about that, like, it was September '89, City's first ever game in Europe, obviously, it was in Moscow. And our MD at the time, Jim O'Shea, was a unique character. He's passed away since, God rest him. But his two sons were cameramen in there, Mark and Daniel. And I was saying to Jim, we have to go to Moscow. Like, city's first, this could be historical. Not a chance, Welch, he says. Not a chance. And I said, but the Examiner going, the Echo going, RT Locals, radio going.
Yeah.
I was listening out with everyone. And he says, when's it on? And I said, a month. No, we're a month away from it, whatever. So he says, get back to me again. So I was saying to him, convincing him that great experience for his two sons, filming in Moscow. I think that got me over the edge, And he says, that got me over the line, as the fella said. So he says, okay, get your visa sorted, you're going. But I never forget, my late Mam Gulliver, Jim O'Shea himself collected me these two sons to drive us into the Imperial Hotel. So with all the city team were outside the Imperial. Pat O'Donovan was chairman at the time. And he put up in a gold Merc, so he was still only a young fella. And my mum looking out the window, he says, I think that's for you, Trevor, he said. My bag's ready, Jim O'Shea, you can barely hear the car, And he says, come on, Welch, and into the Imperial Hotel. Remember Pat O'Donovan giving me a Cork City tracksuit top. I got everyone to sign it, still have it at the Imperial.
Still have it at home with all the players from that team. Yeah,
from that team, all the whole squad. And we flew to Shannon into Moscow, and there was a lot of Torpedo Moscow fans there thinking that some of the city players were playing for Ireland,
Oh.
They don't have part-time, but I remember the lads signing stuff. And but that was an unbelievable experience. We stayed in a hotel on Red Square, I think it was the biggest hotel in Europe at the time, and changing of the guards, St. Basil's Cathedral, was made for filming. So they said, let's do a documentary on it as well, to get the camera around, and it was incredible. Went to the training sessions, did all the training sessions, and then the biggest memory of it was the night before the match. The hierarchy at Torpedo Moscow invited us underground, it was an old army barrack, an army stadium, and it was we went underground. And George Scannell was Cork City's interpreter. He later went on with Andrew Kilchelskis to be his interpreter when he signed for United.
Yeah.
But he was interpreting everything, and they were saying, I was telling you that in the operas, and we drink the vodka then. It was strong, there I was eating grapes and bread after us with Sepp Nolamani. Everyone that spoke would have to drink a glass of vodka after.
Even the players?
No.
They weren't there, were they?
It was just, I think I was the only media fella at it. Then there was the doctor there, George Scannell, Nolamani, Pat O'Donovan. And we crawl onto the bus. But at the match itself, then we were allowed to film. And I remember having the Russian hat on and gloves, was freezing there. We were beaten 5-0. And, but, to put that footage out, City's first venture.
And what you do? Did you do highlights of that? You obviously didn't broadcast live because it would have been too difficult for you.
But we played about an hour of it, I'd say.
Yeah.
Half an hour first half, hour second half, then all the interviews around it. It was way ahead of its time. No one had anything like it. It was a dream for me,
Yeah.
Seeing Europe for free, and as a young fella, and commentating Cork City's first match in Europe. Then we done the home one, obviously, and lost 1-0 in that one, I think, Turner's Cross. But we went to Prague afterwards as well when they played out in Prague, and to be able to see the world supporting your own soccer team, the League of Ireland, and we had a great side,
and it was a fierce adventure for City and Cork in general. I think people underestimate the power of that, that you're going abroad playing these big teams. And of course you did Bayern Munich then, but you weren't actually at the ground. He tapped into the channel or something like that, was it?
Yeah, illegal to say the least. But I did that in the boardroom in George's Quay, a multi-channel. He said, come on, Welsh, sit down, we're gonna put out the match. You could hear the German commentator in the background. He was commentating away I was doing it off dubbing over him.
So you were dubbing the voice and you were putting your own voice over it.
But it's amazing to go out, to put it, to be able to put it out. But there's a great story around it as well. Two great stories about that. Liam Murphy handled the ball later on, remember, for the penalty.
Yeah.
And apparently Nolamani said to Matt, what were you doing, Liam? Handling the ball. He goes, I always do that, to break the ice after us. But he must have been they only lost 2-0 out in Munich, and Paul Bannon, God rest him, missed a chance as well.
Yeah.
And the other one was Morley. Pat Morley was saying that he had to do so much running, and he was out of gas at the end, and he had to be taken off because he couldn't run anymore. And no, so what are you doing, Patrick? And he goes, I'm gone, Noel, I'm gone. He goes, get up, have you seen my bench? That was one of the other stories. But no, that was there were great memories, great Cork City teams. And for my own career, really, it stood to me in the end to be able to, see up close and personal games in Europe. That was my first venture into Europe, doing European football.
Yeah.
To this day, I'm still doing it.
So, out of the work with Cork multichannel, and people remember the old black box that would be in the corner of the room, like you know, like it then. I suppose the first independent TV station for the country in TV3 came along, and I suppose the fact that you were already presenting on a station in Cork, that probably helped you get in the door, did it? Or
It did, yeah. Like the thing was, I suppose we didn't much autocue for a start, so you depended on memory.
Yeah.
Remember your links, and
Yeah.
you know, you're thrown in the deep end. I was responsible for even like the running order of the show, presenting it, commentating, reporting. And like looking back, like the people I interviewed, it's credible. Like I was saying about the snooker players, like, you know, Jimmy White and Davis and Hendry, and, you know, Steve Collins. I think I did the first interview on Irish television for Steve Collins. I think I did the first interview ever with Sonia Sullivan. Sonia came in school uniform after running in Irish cross country. And
Crazy.
Ken Doherty, I probably did the first TV interview with Ken Doherty because, you know, it was
there was
there.
events happening in Cork
Yeah.
and you were there for it.
I was there, yeah. And yeah, so the thing was, I try and think of another, I'll think of that after. But, you know, with all that experience behind you, like, so that was 10 years when TV3 started was 98. So I started in multichannel in 88 to 98.
And were multichannel still going by the time TV3 started?
They were.
They were.
They were going right up to 2005.
Were they? Yeah.
They started it in the Cork 800 celebrations, 85. They filmed the Patrick's Day Parade.
Yeah.
And it got such a great reaction that they kept going and started building programs like cooking programs, music programs, sports programs. It was a huge chance for broadcasters like myself and, you know, obviously Paul Byrne, Marty Morrissey, give us all that start. Like, and lo and behold, I was editing Monday sometime early in 98, and John Lynch, who was our editor, he's about to Today Show now on RT, still going. He said, "Have you seen this?" I didn't even see it, the ad for looking for presenters for TV3, and I said, "No." He showed it to me. He said, "It's down your alley. Like, let's start working on the show reel straight away." Like.
Brilliant. And
I sent the show reel to Dublin, and got a call, and they invited me up to Sandyford at the time. It was an old kind of warehouse, and I did an interview in front of Kieran Devaney, who came from Sky, and there's Bob Hughes, Channel 4, Andrew Hanlon, very experienced TV guys. Like, so sat in the panel, just talked about my own personality, my own experience. They obviously, what I found out later was Bob Hughes asked around for people in Cork who would be known for sports broadcasting. My name came up a lot, like, so they knew of me, like, and they knew what I was doing, you know.
Yeah.
And so met Damon Richardson, funny enough, another former city manager in the Berkeley Court Hotel, and he just encouraged me, like, and advised me, like, you know,
because he would have done a lot of media work around then as well. Yeah,
and he's intelligent man, like, and I would have done a lot of interviews with him, and just give me a bit of advice. But got a second call anyway, long story short, and the second interview was in Windmill Lane, and I was inside the studios where U2 recorded Boy. Yeah. So I was beside myself. I said, "That's where U2 recorded their first ever album," being a U2 fanatic. And this time we had autocue, and that was easy for me, like, because I never had it. Just keep reading the autocue. They gave me 3 stories, like a sad story, a happy story, and kind of a big sports story, like, that stood out, you know. And they said, "That's grand, so call me back." A few weeks later, I said, "You have the job. How does it sound, be anchor of TV3?" So I got the anchor job. I was thrilled.
And like you went in from doing things in Cork to then reporting on Champions League, because they kind of got some of the rights to the Champions League early on, did they?
Yeah, I mean, that was the thing. Well, like, I was up there, we'd say in 98, and I remember being interviewed by various newspapers, and I think there might have been a few green-eyed monsters as well. Like, they were very negative because they might have went for the job I went for. And didn't get it. And they were kind of ready to have a go off me, like, when I came on air. And so there's a few negative comments which put me off at the start. And some of the comments I remember was, "But what are you going to show? Like, even no rights, even no bank of footage. All I have is pictures or something like that." It was really negative, you know.
Because you just did sports bulletins at the start on on their TV show or their news bulletin or whatever.
News bulletins and Sports Tonight, then the nighttime sports show.
Oh, I remember that.
We went out and interviewed people, and
we did previews to the weekend or whatever.
Bit of footage here and there, but I think, like, my own friends have said to me, "Stay with it, like, that they're not in it for nothing. That they'll go for rights eventually." Like, and sure enough, 2000 was only there 2 years, and I think they caught RT in the hop a bit when they went for the Champions League rights, and we got them. I couldn't believe it when I was told to. Like, but the story was, I was still, young to it. Like, I know I had multi-channel, but we got Champions League rights at that level. I was thinking, will they go with me? Like,
or will they bring somebody else in or
give me a
something?
chance?
Yeah.
But the talk was Andrew Hanlon wanted to bring in John Helm, who's an experienced English broadcaster.
Yeah.
He had done a lot of European stuff. The man was, I'd say, in his 70s at that stage. And Michael Lynn, to be fair to him, our producer at the time, he's now a barrister of law. He was our producer. And he fought our cases. No, he said, guys here, we want to give a go to. Like, Trevor's done a lot of commentary in League of Ireland stuff. And he goes, yeah, but not at this level kind of thing. And he was saying, well, I want to give him a chance. And I want to give Conor McNamara a chance.
Yeah.
And he said, so they're going to be doing our first 2 Champions League matches. I don't want John Helm over. And it'll be negative anyway, kind of have an English voice on our first ever Champions League matches. Yeah. And he won the day. And my first match, I was given the first Champions League match. So I involved in a lot of firsts, which is great. And the first match was Barcelona Leeds in the new camp. I was doing it with John Toshak. And I remember it being...
And did you go over there?
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
Stayed in the one something, I'll think of it now, it was the King of Spain's hotel anyway. But it was up the road, up the hill from the new camp, like. And John Toshak and myself were doing it. And I remember sweltering, and I had a white shirt to me, and the sweat was out through me from the heat and the nerves, I'd say.
Yeah,
combination.
bit of both. Yeah.
But it was frightening because in the new camp, you nearly have to go off the monitor because you can't see the players' numbers from the naked eye. Like, you're so high up, you couldn't pick out the player's number. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I had to go on the monitor really, just to
bit different from the Donny Ford.
The Donny Ford, yeah,
yeah,
exactly. And it was an experience and a half. Very nervous, and came back afterwards, and I was thinking, have I done enough to get me another game? Do you know kind of way?
Yeah.
Have I made too many mistakes? And our producer, Michael Lynn, says, no, your first game, I was very happy. Just 1 or 2 things we went over. And then the next game got a bit easier for me. And then I did one at Highbury, and it was so easy compared to the new camp. You'd be surprised, like, how comfortable you are. In Highbury, you were just, like, even lower than the Donny Ford stand. You were nearly on top of the players.
Okay, nearly next to the pitch, like, yeah.
And I did that with Mick McCarthy.
Yeah.
And I remember going back to the hotel in London, and the producer ringing me and says, excellent. He said, don't mind the green-eyed monsters. I know there's a lot written about some of our presenters and commentators. But you're only doing a few games, you're only in a wet week. Like. And he said, you proved tonight you can commentate at that level. And I kind of never looked back after that. He says, fella writes bad about you, writes good about you, same thing, throw it in the bin. Concentrate on your own job. And I never looked back after that. I've done, I don't know how many European matches, but over 300 and 400 maybe.
And what's the one that stands out? What, like, if you look back, what was the one that you felt, I feel lucky I'm here? Like, you know.
Yeah, I suppose at the very start, being a Man United fanatic, like, I think United against Feyenoord, I think it was my first one. I remember staying in the hotel, the Golden Tulip right across the road the night before. We went the day before, you know?
Yeah.
I just see the red lights and the big Manchester United sign. It goes, I'm going to be there tomorrow, I can't believe it, commentating on a Champions League match.
Yeah.
From a fella like with a ruler or a broken microphone, 12 years of age, around the streets of Cork. I said, my dream is to commentate Man United. And it's happening now, you know?
Yeah.
And did a game, really happy with it. And that's the one that stood out. And I suppose, you know, that young kid in Torquay, like, watching Man United in the FA Cup was huge back then. It's not as big, obviously, anymore. But the FA Cup was huge. And I had a graph the FA Cup, you know. And then to get United in 2017 against Crystal Palace. Damien Delaney was actually playing for Palace the same day.
Yeah.
But Wembley, the new Wembley, it's unreal. That was the standout. And then the 2 Champions League finals, I did all 3 in, I did all 2 in Glasgow. Zidane's goal, the volley.
Whoa.
Real Madrid and Bayer Leverkusen. Leverkusen had beaten United in the semi. It was going mad. Thought it'd be Madrid. And United, like in Glasgow, the home of Ferguson. It didn't happen that way, but still stood out, that one. And the next year then I did the all-Italian show, Benvenuto alla show Italiano. I was trying to get the Italian phrase to open the match. It was Juventus and Milan. Went to penalties. Was that Kevin Moore doing a commentary. But they were big standouts.
But you then also, in between all of that, you went back to your roots in terms of radio. Red FM launched in Cork.
That's right.
And you were one of the first hosts on this brand new radio station. with the big red bench at the time.
That's right. Yeah, and as I said earlier, like I'd say I was involved in about 6 or 7 first. The other one was before I forget it, the Europa League final, first time a European finals I've held in Ireland in the Aviva in 2011.
Yeah,
Braga,
you did that as well.
I did that one, so that was the first. But just going back, to Red FM, like I hadn't never been in mainstream radio before that.
It was only pirate radio up until that point. Yeah.
So it was 02 the first time I got on mainstream radio, but it was Henry, God rest him, Henry Condon.
Yeah.
I actually bought his house. Like I stayed with him for a while in 01, and I stayed up the road for a while, and then he said, in Lucan in Dublin, he said, "Why don't you stay with me?" He said, "Cheaper rent." And I moved everything away, Henry. And that was the start of our journey, because he then said to me, like, we're starting this radio station, Red FM. He said, "Would you be interested in kind of a sports show for us on a Saturday and Sunday?"
Yeah.
Funny enough to go up against 96 FM at the time. And I said, yeah. I said, "Look, I'm working 5 days a week. Like, that means I'll be working 7 days a week."
Yeah.
And he said, "Would you just get us up and running? Like, we need your experience," kind of thing. And I found out what was involved in it. Anyway, it was 6 to 7 on Saturday and Sunday, still going today, to be fair.
It is, yeah.
And I met Henry in the Red Cow Hotel. And he said, "We're starting a couple of months. And here's what we give you, like, and will you do it?" And I said, "Yeah, okay, so." And he said, "Well, we call it." And I said, "I've got something right into it." And I said, "How about the red bench?" And he says, "How about the big red bench?" And I says, "Yeah, the big red bench." Then he said, "How about Trevor Welch's big red bench?" And it grew longer. And I remember in chip chops afterwards, on Lennox's, and people saying, "How's your red bench?" And I thought, maybe shouting no. But it was great. I mean, it was tough role for me in terms of workload.
Trying to balance both, yeah.
But the only thing is, I did interviews above. We'd say, I'd interview John O'Shea. We'd say, playing for Ireland.
Yeah.
I could take that audio and put it out in the big red bench.
Okay, so you're doing kind of double job with him anyways, yeah.
Yeah. And Andrew Hanlon, our head of production above on TV3 at the start, didn't want me to do it. And I told him, like,
yeah.
And then I told him, "No, I'd be doing stuff." And I'd be mentioning TV3, and he thought about it, and he said, "Okay, son, give me the go ahead."
It's a bit of branding for them, like, yeah.
And I did that then, like, for just 202 to nearly 208. It's nearly 6 years. But we, got a great response to it. Oisin Langan was there for a while. Kerr McSweeney, Rory was coming through.
Yeah.
Like, it was another, it was good for me in terms of finance as well. Like, I was able to buy the big red Jeep then. I bought a red Jeep, believe it or not. I called it the big red Jeep. So, but in the end, it just got too much. I was missing out matches. I couldn't go to games.
Okay, so the life balance wasn't there anymore. Like,
yeah. So I kind of took a break from it.
Yeah.
Around 08 then, maybe midway through 2007. And then how the 96 thing came about, I was in Moscow in 08 for United Chelsea in the Champions League final.
Yeah.
And I was on with Ken Tobin, He said, "Would you come on with us, like, and, the Irish interest, and it'd be big, like," and John O'Shea was there, and whatever. And I says, "Go on." So I went down. I was live from Moscow, like, with Ken on.
Yeah.
And then obviously the bosses heard it, like, and they were saying, "I'd be interested in coming and doing a show with us," like, on a Saturday at the time.
Yeah.
Ken said, "I don't know, I'll ask him." Like, I said, "I know he's been doing loads, like, but I'll say it to him anyway." And funny enough, Kerr McGarry then, he said about I meet him in Silver Springs. And similar to Red, like, "Well, we call the show. You're interested in doing so?" "Yeah, it'll be Saturday 2 to 6. Music. There'll be a lot of music in as well." He said, like, "Do you know much about music?" I said, "I know more about music than sport." But anyway,
so you had your first music show.
That was definitely the go ahead then. And he said, "What we call it?" So I gave him a list of 6 names, like the winning post or something like this. I forget half now. But I said, "What about the score?" And he goes, "That's it. The score. What's the score, boy? What's the score?" So he was giving it the Cork flavour. And that was 09. I started on my birthday, actually, in 09. And still going today, thank God. So that's 16 years.
And you started doing stuff with Talk Sport then as well. Talk Sport Ireland, is it?
Talk Sport Ireland, yeah.
Yeah.
Online.
Yeah.
It's an online platform, like.
Doing Premier League games or that kind of thing, yeah.
And that was another one, just came off the cuff and another first, like. So just got a call one day from Brendan on 96 FM. And he said to me, "Look, we were putting out Talk Sport anywhere. We put out the commentaries on our platform because the World is Group 1, 96, and a number of stations around the country, 104, Q102, Live 95.
And Virgin in the UK and stuff like that as well.
Yeah. And he says, look, we're putting out the commentaries anyway.
Mm.
And they said, why don't we get an Irish presenter to anchor it in Ireland? So a few lads in Dublin 104 went for it. I went for it. So Brendan said, look, put in your CV. So I put in the CV and called me back 2 weeks later. And he says, look, they want to go with you, the lads in the UK. So we're going to present her out of Cork, which is brilliant. Everything else nationals, I broadcast out of Dublin, like.
Yeah.
So got out of Cork in the 96 studios, and I do it every Saturday. And now again this Saturday, going about 10, record a few interviews Saturday morning to pad around the commentaries.
Yeah.
We have a regular Fabio O'Brien, Extrada, like Paddy Mulligan comes up. Then with us as well, we get the whatever game's on the 5:30. Then their co-comic come on us live at 5.
Okay.
So David Connolly, like Sandy Townsend, people like that,
Yeah.
and whoever else we can get in the meantime. Like, but it's a long show. It's 12:30 to 7:30 on air. But it's obviously side profile. I love doing it, and we're still going. I think it's our 4th season. I think we've got contract now for the next 3 as well. Very good. I think they're expanding now. I was only talking to Aaron Howie earlier that TalkSport Ireland's come on stream now. Luke Delaney, guy from 104, I think, is TalkSport Ireland editor, and they're going to do podcasts and Gaelic games,
do a
soccer,
bit more
rugby, all the more popular sports, and expand it a bit more. So it's expanding. I mean, we did it through COVID as well, like, which is great, and it's expanding now, and hopefully.
And I suppose with the likes of your Alexas and stuff like that, and the Google Homes and stuff, you don't need an FM stereo anymore. So it's much easier to access these platforms. No, where before you had to have a digital radio or something. It was difficult. Or you go onto your laptop. No, it's just you ask the device in the corner, the room to turn it on, and away you go. So
and as you know, like, things grow. Like, the latest now is we're going to be doing just video pieces to show from the rooftops that we have Premier League Live next 3 years. Do bits to camera like TikTok, Instagram, what's coming up. Then you do kind of a review of what's been happening. That's going forward from Saturday. Actually, we're going to be doing more on the platforms. So everything grows, like, and it's great to be part of it. Which was
Yeah, you're always a man of first. And speaking of first, tomorrow night then the first time I suppose you'll be at a cinema for a football match. Something different again.
Amazing.
Live stream inside the cinema for Cork City.
Yeah, and I was talking to Tim earlier, like how League of Ireland, the interest in League of Ireland has grown so much in a short space of time.
Yeah.
Like, I remember we did an Aircom League Weekly show at TV3 in 2004, and again, they were saying the figures wouldn't be there. We get more watching a Friday night movie, at the time. But I'm delighted, like, with the coverage now, and it's, in fairness, it's great initiative from Cork City and the Arc Cinema, like, it's something to look forward to Friday night, and it's another opportunity for City fans who can't travel that distance, especially to watch the match. So going in there, just doing a vox pop with people, and
asking them what they feel about it,
how the experience went, and that's so. I was talking to Tim about it in the press conference during the week. I said, did he think when he was playing that, in a few years down the road there'd be cinema showing League of Ireland matches? But it's going to be very interesting to see, the reaction, especially if City go behind or ahead or whatever.
The popcorn could go all over the place.
Yeah, but I'm looking forward to it though. I like the vox pops too, like getting
a bit of flavour.
What people thinking.
And like, you were obviously on the commentary last week as well. It's brilliant that Virgin now have the League of Ireland every week.
Yeah.
So you'll get a couple of games. You've done the Waterford game as well.
Yeah. That's funny enough. Like, people would know it. I've commentated all over the world. Like, I did World Cups. I did the European Championship final 2016, France and Portugal. I've never commentated a live match at Turner's Cross Sutton last Friday.
Was that the first time?
Yeah, unreal. Like, I've done hundreds for multichannel at Turner's Cross, but they're all for highlights. Like, you'd take your notes, time codes, goal on 16 minutes, whatever, and then you go in and put your voice on it on the Monday. But that was my first live match at Turner's Cross. Yet
you were the voice of the ground for years.
Yeah.
You did a lot of the PA and stuff like that over the years as well.
Yeah, definitely. It was just strange. I was telling people I couldn't believe it. I said, what? Never commentated on live? I said, no. But I talked to our lads above now, and they know my love for League of Ireland. Like, so I was thrilled when when it was announced we were getting so many games. I hope to do all the Cork City games, touch wood.
Yeah.
I'd like to do all the games, so I'll obviously do as much as that's given to me, but hopefully I get all the city games. I know there's no city game now for the next 6, 7 at least,
Yeah, they haven't been in the schedule anyway at the moment. Yeah.
but commentary is the thing I love most in life. Like, I suppose radio is my thing. I just have a love affair for radio. And commentary, like, is the nearest thing on television you get to radio, obviously. You're not seeing what you're heard. And, it's an unscripted, we call it unscripted drama, like, for 90 minutes plus. And I think, to be fair, like, commentary is unique. There's different tools. A lot of people can present but can't commentate.
That's right, yeah. It's very different.
It's very different. And I think, we're all still learning it. Like, we learn every game. I go back on the match and I say, all right, could have done that better, could have done that. You're learning, and you're fooling yourself if you're not learning in every match. Every match will give you something.
And over the years then, Trevor, like, who was the Cork City player that you like, of the people that you commentated on over the years, who was the one that stood out?
I'd say it's get the slagging from Morley, like, because number one, I went to school with him. 2, when I was in multichannel, Pat would call for lunch, we go playing snooker, and then we go for our curry and rice up in King's Bar upstairs at the table ready for us. So we gobble that back in 15 minutes, and that gives us 45 for 2 frames of snooker.
Yeah.
But I got to know him and his family. Jackie Morley's a legend and a gentleman, God rest him.
Yeah.
But I think Pat, because he got so many goals, and we slag like all the great players were 10, and the Skippy a bit and the whole lot. John, not a great favourite of mine, of course, John Caulfield, obviously, like, and 2 of City's top scorers. Amazing they have the same amount of goals.
That's why I said to John, like, would you not have tried to get another goal or something?
I know, 2-40 each or something like that. But Caulfield, to be fair, like, wasn't an out-and-out striker, like, and as I said, Wembley was the defender.
Yeah.
And Mickey Punch turned him into a forward because he had a bit of pace. But the 2 of them together were deadly, like. And, Dave Barry, like, what his contribution to Cork sport and Cork City, like scoring against Bayern Munich, when Effenberg said to him, you're only an old man, like. And he passed him when he scored and said, not bad for an old man. Afterwards, like, that's great. But Patsy Frayne, like, skill factor. I remember when I was in Dublin and people saying Trevor Malloy is the most skillful player in the league. I was, no, he's not. Patsy Frayne is. And even the Pats fellas were saying to me, yeah, Patsy Frayne, unreal.
Great players.
So skillful. And Biscuits, of course.
Character.
Great characters, Cork. That's a great leader, Stecky Daly.
Yeah.
Great leaders in that team.
Which is why they done so well too, like, for the team that was quite new, if you think about it, like, they were only formed, in the early 80s, and by the time they got to within 10 years, they had won a league.
That's right.
Less than 10 years.
They were struggling, near the end of the table for a while. Like.
Yeah.
I think Nolan Manning coming back was big, like, and to win that league in 93, get to the cup final first in 89, and then to win the league, that round robin one. So the players had given up on it. Like, they were out drinking in Kinsale. We were told, no, we're in our own robin, what? And funny enough, and a great story about that. Man United won the league the same year, 93, for the first time in 26 years. And I asked Liam Cashman, the local bookmaker at the time, he's gone now. I said, what would you give me on City, Man United double, start of the year to win the 2 leagues? He goes, Trevor, you're dreaming. And I says, what would you give me? And he says, you're following your heart now, not your head.
Yeah.
And he said, it works out at about 43 to 1 or something. He said, I give you 50. It's not going to happen. So United won the league and City were on their own robin. And when I got to the final against Shelburne up in the RDS, I was sitting in the stand, true as God, with Jackie Morley. And I showed him the docket. And I think I had something like 20 quid at 50 to 1 back in 93.
Yeah, it was all right.
And what happened, I had a jean shirt to me, and I forget with clasps, And Pat Morley knew I had the docket. And Morley scored, I was a Bannon. They both think they scored, right? And Dave Barry got that great goal. But anyway, when the final whistle went, I'm running onto the pitch. And Morley came over and he ripped the shirt with the clasp like that, took off his jersey and just handed it to me. And I was there with the Morley jersey, all the muck on it. I didn't wash it for years. And I was there with the docket, coming down then on the bus. Of course, the whole team, Welch, drinks on you, kid.
Probably cost you more than anything else.
We got buckets of beer in here. But to win the league, 93, incredible.
Great memories.
Yeah. But
what about the current squad?
Yeah. Like I was saying to Aaron earlier, with the players coming back, like, to to be fair to City, they gave me every team they played so far a game.
Yeah.
Could have got a few more points, especially the Sligo one.
Mm.
Like what Greg is so important, obviously with his experience, you could see it in the middle of the pitch. Kind of when he went off against Waterford, we lost our way.
Yeah.
Started so well against Waterford. Like. And I thought Shawnee and Keats were causing fierce problems for their back three.
Massive headache,
They were stretching them. And Nolan get up the right to get that goal, And I thought, geez, this is a great performance. Just a pity that Shawnee got injured so early. And then when Greg came off, I thought we lost our way.
Yeah.
But, I think with Greg coming back, Shawnee coming back, Dyke Steele is out, and obviously Cahill just coming back.
Yeah.
I think there's great potential, like the way Mbeng has settled in. Anderson looks so composed, isn't he?
Very
at
good.
The back.
Yeah.
He just gives that bit of sound, kind of bit of quality there, And Charlie, obviously, I think defensively, I think Derek Crowley was excellent against Strada.
Yeah, brilliant.
Didn't get as much credit as he deserved. I thought he's excellent. And your man has hit the ground run as well, Couto, so.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I think there's a great squad there. Let's keep him fit, and hopefully, they have made Turner's Cross a fortress. 23 games unbeaten, almost. We're in the first division.
Yeah.
23 games in a row unbeaten at Turner's Cross. That's momentum now.
That is momentum. No, it's exciting times ahead, and the next stop is obviously Derry tomorrow night, and it'll be in the cinema. But Trevor was brilliant to reminisce over the years. You've been a voice of Cork City, so it's great to have you in the studio and the podcast. And probably won't be the last time we'll talk, I'd say. But thanks again for coming in.
Yeah, we might talk Champions League the next time when Cork City qualify.
We'll hold you to that. Yeah, as I said beforehand, I think the Ola fans will love the old stories of him going on Cork multichannel and Torpedo Moscow and all these games from long ago.
Yeah, it's class. And look, you mentioned it in the interview. We had Trev in the Opera House for the live show.
Yeah.
And I always find it interesting looking back at I think he referenced it, the Bayern game. I think the Galatasaray game was the same, where he's commentating over the other footage, the other commentators. Yeah, it's very of its time, I suppose, with how that multi-channel setup worked. But I love hearing stories like that because I didn't really get to see any of that or get to watch any of that. So I like being able to take a trip down memory lane is wrong, but kind of learn about it through other people's memories of it, I suppose.
Yeah, and to be honest, I didn't realise multi-channel was still kind of going to 2005. I thought it had kind of dropped off before that. So it was interesting to hear all those stories, and even how he got the job with TV3, which is now Virgin as well. How he actually had to put in a reel of footage of himself, broadcasting with Cork.
It's almost like an audition for a movie role or something. Yeah,
and how he went from pretending to commentate on matches in Cork to actually commentating on the European Championship final and stuff like that, which is great.
Something I didn't know that he mentioned there towards the end was the fact that last Friday's game was the first time he'd ever commentated on a game live from Turner's Cross.
That's mad, for a guy that has done loads of matches, hundreds.
And he's there every Friday, he's there every week.
Yeah, it's
fascinating,
crazy.
I would say.
Yeah. So I'd imagine he'll be back for another one. Hopefully at some point Virgin will be back this season.
Oh, definitely they will. I think they were very happy with how it went, production-wise and show-wise, and we were, I'd like to think, very helpful to them in letting them go wherever they needed to be to do it. So, they'll hopefully be back, and we'll definitely welcome them back.
And of course, we were talking about he's going in himself to the cinema night. So we were talking about it a few weeks back. That away games were going to be shown some of the further away, and obviously the one that's the furthest of all is Derry. Well, unless we get into Europe, but for now, Derry is the furthest away,
and that's tomorrow night, probably tonight by the time you're listening to this. But that'll be a good one. It's sold out at the Arc, so if you don't have a ticket, don't go, because it is obviously very limited in what can be there. But I'll be there myself. It looks like we were in there the other day testing things. Had an old match on, and it looks really good. It's going to be exciting. Be a great atmosphere in there as well. People are bringing their city colours and city flags and stuff, so it will be really good. I might get a couple of bits for social, might grab a few people for the podcast while I'm in there as well. So I'm looking forward to it, because I get to go to the cinema and I don't have to go all the way up to Derry, so that's great in itself.
That's great. So you can broadcast from the cinema instead, so you can tweet from the cinema.
This is I don't know who thought of this cinema idea. This is the best idea we've ever had.
Well, you're synonymous with going to the cinema there before, so
I see this. It was actually tactical for me that this. Anytime anyone mentions the cinema now, it's not me.
Yeah, you can change it up a bit, but
it's not me.
Yeah, so I'm sure that people will make a long trip to Derry as well, or people, some of our fans are up the country, so they could be actually listening to this maybe
I
on
know,
the road to Derry.
or in the air, because I know there are people who have looked into flights flying from Cork to Manchester and Manchester up to Derry, I think.
That is an interesting way.
It's an interesting way, but apparently it's cheaper and faster than getting buses and trains, so fair play if
So
you're
you can
doing
go
that.
from Manchester to Derry Airport.
Apparently so, yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently so.
Yeah.
But I might look into that for future ones for myself.
That's
but
an interesting one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You wouldn't think of that actually, yeah. Yeah.
fair play. If anyone is doing that, let us know. Send us
I
pictures,
do
send us
definitely
tweets.
let us know. That's
I can't remember who was saying that to me during the week. Someone said his friend was doing that.
Yeah, it's like a guy that went viral there in England a few years ago saying he was cheaper for him to go from somewhere like, I don't know, Leeds, Bradford. He wanted to get back to London, and it was cheaper to go via Berlin, have his lunch in Berlin and a few beers in Berlin, and then go to London that way instead of going
mad.
direct by the train or something. There was something like that. It was way cheaper anyway
I'm just looking at it here. Yeah, so it's $14.99
to go to
to
Manchester.
go from Manchester to Derry. Yeah,
Okay, and
Interesting.
Cork to Manchester depends.
depends how early you book it, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
well, if there's a match on, forget about it. Like,
well,
but
look, there might be could be a content idea there, and that for the club socials. Next
Yeah.
time we're in Derry, I'll fly to it.
fly to
Document a day in the air.
You can always wait. You could fly to Dublin as well, but you'd have to go.
Go to Kerry. Yeah.
You could go to Kerry, or you could go to Manchester and then fly back. But I'd say no, you'd be faster driving. Whatever about Kerry,
Probably for Dublin. Yeah. Yeah.
There
Although,
was-
to be fair, flying from Kerry to Dublin could be good. Could be good crack.
There was a time, all right, you could actually fly from Cork to Dublin. I remember doing it once with Ryanair long ago. So
I suppose if you're doing it for a match, by the time you get out of Dublin Airport and into where you need to go, you're better off driving.
yeah, it's not like Cork Airport. No, we're actually close to Turner's Cross. So
Yeah,
like,
and you're in and out of security in about
Yeah.
4 seconds.
that is something the airport could promote actually for people even in England and stuff. If they want to see a match on a Friday night, they could literally finish work in London and be at Turner's Cross.
And to be fair, we actually have a partnership with Cork Airport this year, and we're working on a few bits along those lines. So hopefully
Yeah.
we'll see a bit.
It is so
We'll
easy.
see that in the near future.
And even one of the buses, the bus that comes from that comes through Cork Airport, as far as I know, goes through Turner's Cross.
Does it?
Yeah, so
Perfect.
so they can just
Perfect,
get off, making life
Handy out,
easy.
yeah.
Yeah, so
If your flight's in there at 6:30, 7 o'clock on a Friday night, you know what to do.
that'd be an interesting one as well. If there was people actually listening to this that are maybe there's people there that they work in London during the week, but they live in Cork. They come home.
Yeah,
It'd be
Yeah.
interesting to see, does anybody come home on a Friday evening and go straight to Turner's Cross?
yeah. I'm just going through the reaction there now on Twitter. While you were talking to Trevor, I put out a little bit of a teaser about a jersey we might be wearing tomorrow in Derry. So seems to be a good reaction so far. We'll be revealing that. By the time you're listening to that, you'll be able to see the jersey. But
Very good.
something
Something new.
new, something different.
Interesting.
We'll see how it goes.
We're looking forward to seeing that. Hopefully, it's going to be a tough game against Derry. Any time away to Derry is going to be tricky. But be nice to get back to winning ways again.
Absolutely. We haven't, I think I saw a stat earlier, we haven't won up there since 2018.
Whoa,
Long time.
it's a long time. We're due a result.
Absolutely, yeah. And hopefully, as you said, it comes tomorrow. It'll be brilliant as well for us inside in the Arc to have the reaction of getting a big result and a big win like that. So hopefully.
Fingers crossed. So we look forward to that. And of course, we'll be back on the podcast next week. The women don't have a game. The youths are playing over the weekend, so keep an eye out for them. And if you can, pop down to one of their games, give them a bit of support. It's nice. I think it's nice for them when people are there.
Brilliant, yeah. Whenever there's people in there, Cork City colours there supporting any Cork City team, it's exactly what you want to see.
It's it's great for them. And and then next week we'll be back. 2 big games across a double header. So
Big
that's
double
the
header
first
with
of the season.
Two big ones to preview, yeah.
So looking forward to that. So we'll talk to you next week.
See you next week.